Welcome to the second episode in a Legendarium series about the 18th century vampire scare. In part 2, we will talk about the fears spread across Eastern Europe and how it even influenced European scholarship. Journals and gazettes in Poland and Russia during the 18th century told of creatures sucking the blood of humans and animals. Engorged, blood would flow from their eyeballs, pores, and other orifices. Once dug up, their coffins swam in gore. As a protection against the creatures, local people advised making bread from this coffin blood and then eating it. A village called Medveda in Serbia became home to the next documented incident. Over 3 months, 17 villagers reportedly died of vampire attacks. In late 1731, Austro-Hungarian regimental field surgeon Johannes Flukinger journeyed to Medveda. He traced these attacks back to a soldier named Arnold Paole who had reportedly been attacked by a vampire before his death. In life, Paole claimed that he had protected himself from the vampire's bite by eating dirt from its tomb and washing himself with its blood. Unfortunately, these precautions did not prevent Paole from breaking his neck when he fell off a hay wagon. Flukinger led the villagers in digging up his grave, and they found him undecayed. Fresh blood flowed from Paole's eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. Johannes Flukinger further wrote, "And the shirt, the covering, and the coffin were completely bloody. The old nails on his hands and feet, along with his skin, had fallen off and new ones had grown. And since they saw from this that he was a true vampire, they drove a stake through his heart according to their custom, whereby he gave an audible groan and bled copiously." An expert in contagious diseases, Flukinger ordered systematic exhumations and conducted autopsies on all suspected vampires. He sought a scientific explanation for the sudden deaths and the anomalies in decomposition. Once again, Flukinger could not find any evidence of known diseases. Folklore thus trumped science as the most plausible diagnosis for the disaster. As a loyal subject of the Austrian Empress, Flukinger tended to blame the Turks for the vampire issue. When he published his report about the stunning outbreak of vampirism in Serbia, it caused yet another sensation throughout Europe. Yet the question remains, what had the people of Medveda found? Did they really find vampires? When people dug up the cadavers of the recent dead, they found seeming proof of vampirism. They found long fingernails, blood at the corners of mouths, and bloated bellies. This led villagers to believe that these corpses rose from their graves to feed upon the living. And to prevent them from rising, villagers across Eastern Europe resorted to beheadings, burnings, and staking corpses to their tombs. What the villagers had actually seen is natural stages of decomposition. After death, the skin dehydrates and tightens, pulling back to make fingernails and hair appear longer. Bacteria in the stomach causes gaseous bloating, which forces bodily fluids like blood through the nose and mouth. Of course, the villagers knew nothing of this science, so they kept digging and mutilating bodies whenever misfortune struck. By 1732, the year after the Arnold Paole incident, 14 books on vampirism had been published in Germany alone. Physicians in the 1730s recorded the physical symptoms of vampire attacks like any other illness. Supposedly, the symptoms of an attack included shivering, nausea, spasms, nightmares, and sometimes a slight case of death. In 1734, the Oxford Dictionary first records the word vampire as being part of the English language. Even in London, newspapers reported on the Eastern vampire hunts in Serbia and Croatia. One English newspaper reported, "Dead bodies sucking the blood of the living, for the latter visibly dry up while the former are filled with blood." Doctors, priests, and government officials began to investigate and document the strange goings-on, following in the footsteps of Johannes Flukinger. As stories of vampire attacks spread, a few men became professional vampire hunters. Often esteemed scholars who worked at prestigious universities, they held doctorates of philosophy and theology. Yet they still unquestioningly believed that vampires existed, so they resigned or took sabbaticals and traveled around Europe, visiting any place that reported vampire attacks. One such man, Dr. Johannes von Lobel, hunted Serbia for vampires. He maintained that he could feel a slight pulse in some vampiric corpses. He also carried a vampire hunter's kit used to bring final peace to undead souls. They included a mallet, stake, crucifix, a climbing rope, crowbars for working open coffins, and even pistols, for some accounts described vampires as being killed by a shot to the chest. Vampire hunters who served the church carried holy water, holy oil, and the Eucharist. Such men joined and often led local villagers in their encounters with the undead. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.